here and be in a daze. All of a sudden you're going to hear the reel screaming because we're going so fast, and when they latch on, it's going to set the hook right away and start screaming. The first thing you want to do is, depending on how good of a boat driver you have, you can either speed up the boat, because generally they'll help you get other strikes as well, or you can have whoever's fishing you run over and start cranking on the opposite rod that's not has fish on it, and just work the rods, because sometimes you just keep going for a little longer, you'll get that second, third, even sometimes a fourth fish. I mean, the most I've ever had on it once myself was 6, and that's just working everything together. That's the whole idea, getting everything zipping through the edge there, and it produces fish, and doubles and triples are not uncommon. Once the fish is on, generally these fish like to run straight out, and depending on which way you turn, they're going to turn the opposite way to head offshore or inshore, depending on which way you're turning. When they're doing that, you want to stay on that rod really good, keeping it tight at all times, because if you don't, sometimes they'll turn around and start racing towards the boat, and you can still shake that hook out, even though at this speed, you would think the hook is set perfectly. And the only time is if it gets hooked in that bone in their roof is when they won't come off. But if they get hooked in the sides, you know as well as I do, they shake their heads enough, make that hole bigger, hook slides right on out. So you want to keep it tight at all times. If you can crank faster, crank faster. If you can't, just take your time. And that's why some of these low gear ratio reels are perfect, because you can only go one speed anyways, and it's generally perfect. I like to start out marking a line where I'm at. So when you start getting bites, you can let it out to the exact same spot at all times. Because once you figure out the spot that the rods need to be, it's very, very important that they go back in the same spot. Even if you're off by 4 or 5 feet, it makes a big difference when you're trying to generate a school back there and get your bites. Every once in a while, you want to make sure that the lures are clean. You know, whether there's weed around, plastic bags, anything that's floating, because sometimes they'll snag on the stuff and create drag. So what I generally do is, like on your rigger baits, you wind them up. Most of the time you can see them pop and see if there's weed on it, but for the lead ones, you can actually feel the difference in weight by pulling on it. If you get really good at it, you fish a lot, you can feel a difference in weight. But it's heavier, obviously, it's got weed on it. If it's about the same, it's okay. So that saves on time of bringing it out. And if you're doing that, a lot of times, as you know as well, I do catch fish from baits in the water. Keep going, keep going! Keep going, double!
Simulates a little mud eel or sand eel. This is a very good bait. You don't want to work it too fast, but you want to kind of snake it along through the water, create a swimming motion with it so it looks natural, like an eel kind of swimming in with the tide. You don't want to jig it or stop moving it, but you want to kind of twitch it along and snake it along. And they really like this. It seems like this is a bait that they frequently eat out here in the Gulf of Mexico as these fish migrate up and down the coast. And then this is what I call the destroyer, so to speak. This chugger is basically just a modified big bass lure, so to speak. It's heavy. It weighs about 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces. It's got some upgraded split rings and 4X strong treble hooks. This serves a purpose, and the reason I like this and have it ready at all times is we're sitting here, we're fishing some baits on the bottom, we're not seeing much. All of a sudden I look 100 yards away and I see, 4 or 5 cobias pop up on the surface, and they're swimming on the surface. Well, obviously we have the anchor out. It's going to take a couple minutes before we could pull the anchor and get over to those fish, and chances are by the time we hurry up, frantically move and get over there, the fish are going to go down. Sometimes these fish only pop up for 30 seconds or 40 seconds, maybe a minute at the most, and they swim around and then they go back down. This bait allows me to cast to where those fish are, and I can do one of two things. I can entice those fish and tease them, get them closer, 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 closer to the boat, and then we can pitch other baits to them and have multiple hookups, or I can slow it down and let them eat this bait right on the surface, and I just bettered my opportunity to catch that fish that was 100 yards away, where a bait on this rod, I would never be able to cast that far. So, and plus it's a real visual bait. When they eat this, they really come out of the water and eat it. It's a real aggressive bite, so it's a cool bite. So let's see what we can find. All right, do me a favor. Go back and get me that trout and put it on that rod. Shine right here. point right here. There's a big fish right here. There's like a 50-pounder right here with this one. Just leave that open, okay? Just put that trout on that rod. I don't know, give me anything. That trout's in there. We'll get this other fish to bite. Straight up, straight up. There you go. Reel down all the way to the water, lift up slow. Real slow. Real slow. Do it again, real slow. Do it again, real slow. Real slow. Yeah. All right, in the spread, cobia fishing, Gulf of Mexico. It's a nice fish.
Yeah, nice fight.
All right, open that hatch for me.
My rod, understanding, in a set position. If I dropped it, you'll see Mark do this. He's going to take the planer and he's going to position the line so that the weight is actually holding the planer in that position. Now remember, we're going this way with the boat. So if you drop this in the water, it would catch just like it does and bow the rod over. That's what you're going to see next. So all of a sudden, there's a lot of tension to the rod. Rod's bent over. This is what it looks like underwater as you troll in this direction. Now when the fish eats the bait, back here, it goes flat. So now you're not fighting the resistance of the planer, you're fighting the fish itself. So again, to set the planer, you're dropping, allow that lead to drop. It catches in the water column. When the fish eats the bait, it pulls the planer flat. That's as simple as it gets. That's it. That's what's happening. As long as you're moving forward, that planer is going to go, the slower you go, the deeper that thing's going to go. The faster you go, the more it's going to rise. But understand, when you see those rods in the next few minutes with fish on, that's what happened. They were set, and they snapped. They were set, and the rod was bent over, and then they snapped. And you're not fighting the resistance of the planer anymore.
When we're fishing, it's going to be set in that position. That's what's going to make it dig. When it gets a bite, the fish is pulling from back here, trips it into the trip position, allows it to come up, and allows you to crank it in. So we're going to put it in the set position. We're going to let it out. What we try to do is stagger these. This is my bigger planer that we're using today. This is a number 8. We're going to let it out about a 30 count. I actually have Power Pro on my reel, and from daily use, I can see where the line's faded. Makes a nice easy mark for me. Slowly put it in gear. You'll see the rod really bending over under the weight of that planer, and you want just enough drag to stop it from going out. Now when the planer's set like that, that's what you want. It's down there digging, and it's fishing. It's ready to rock.